Good morning, and this is your agent of change. It is with a heavy heart that I leave you with this message to speak to the political divisiveness that's taken place in our country. Um, and I can only suspect that the incident that took place yesterday during a meeting in which I was invited to speak with the city commissioner for Miami, Christine King, regarding the I'm My Sister's Keepers Tour, which is a tour, national tour that's focusing on women encouraging other women through literacy education and heightening the awareness as it relates to adverse childhood experiences for a potential collaboration. But to my surprise, I was met with much anger and hostility and treated, quite frankly, very, very poorly in her office by both her staff and hecklers who were there to solely for the purpose of just heckling me. Nonetheless, I find it very interesting, though, when you hear divisive rhetoric coming from minority leaders, Congress minority leaders, Hakeem Jeffries, who suggested on last week that there would be these types of incidents that we witnessed on yesterday when I was assaulted by an officer who I later discovered was an officer, was the sergeant, a part of Christine King's security detail. And I was dumbfounded to hear and being recorded by her and her staff and onlookers as the EMS was there to attend to myself and who I later discovered was a patriot um, who is a part of the mega movement. And the incident is as follows. The young lady came in on yesterday. It was an open call for all constituents in her district to speak with her. And while waiting in the lobby area, I noticed that a struggle had ensued between her and a gentleman. And I commenced to recording because I did not know at the time that that person was an officer, for he was not identified, nor did he ever identify himself as an officer. But he aggressively um, put his hands on a young lady. And I do, suffice it to say, I do have copies of that tape. But because I am calling on a very, very, very serious investigation into this matter, and I'm calling on the ACLU and other government agencies to investigate these types of practices. But I want to really, really, really speak to the leaders for the Democratic Party. We ought to be careful and very mindful of the words that we use when referring rather to those supporters of Trump, President Trump. In fact, overwhelmingly amounts of voters voted for our beloved president. And to just think that you can be attacked or assaulted by a police officer that I later discovered he was a police officer because of your political views and your support for our beloved president is absolutely asinine. And America and Democrats, you ought to be ashamed of yourselves for promoting this political divisive rhetoric that is putting regular Americans in harm's way. This young lady was exercising her constitutional right, which is to speak to her elected officials and to address any grievances. And suffice it to say, without going into further details, because there will be an investigation, I don't want to leak any footage, but I am hearing a lot of folks say that it was politically motivated. I did not know that, young lady. And and it wasn't civil disobedience. I argue to the contrary. It was patriotism. She was exercising her constitutional rights. But having said that, I want us to be mindful of our words because words are like birds. Once released, they never return. Again, this is your agent of change. God bless you and God bless America.